She stood up right after our daughter received her diploma, smoothed her designer dress, and with a fake smile plastered on her lips, leaned toward me and whispered like she was delivering the weather. "I'm leaving you after this. We'll talk later." I didn't hear the applause. I didn't see Abby waving from the stage. My ears rang like a bomb had gone off next to my head. But I didn't flinch. I nodded, just once, and stared ahead like nothing had happened. But that wasn't the moment everything fell apart. Not yet. That moment came 20 minutes later, in the parking lot, when I opened the back of our SUV to load Abby's graduation flowers and heard a muffled chime, her phone, left on the back seat. Screen lit up. Notification after notification. "He's a loser. Come sleep here. Hope your daughter doesn't mind sharing her big day." Her lover didn't even have the decency to write in code. I picked up the phone. The lock screen was off. Rookie mistake. I tapped into the messages and stared at weeks, maybe months, of unfiltered betrayal. His name? Blake. His profile photo? Shirtless in a club bathroom mirror. Real class act. Photos. Voice notes. Even a stupid little video clip of them giggling while in my garage, mocking the fact I was out picking up our dog from the vet. Her laugh. That smug, nasal, high-pitched cackle I once thought was cute. Now it just sounded like the squeal of a snake. I closed the trunk. Walked back toward her slowly, like my legs were moving underwater. She was standing next to our daughter, still smiling for pictures with relatives. Acting like a supportive mother. Acting like a wife who hadn't just torched 20 years of my loyalty in a parking lot. "Hey, Rachel," I called out casually. She turned, radiant as ever. "Yeah, babe." I held up her phone. "You left this in the car." That smile cracked. She didn't reach for it. Our daughter turned toward us. "Everything okay?" Rachel's eyes darted between me and the phone. "Yeah, just your dad's confused. I told him something personal and now he's—" "Tell her now," I said. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried. "Tell Abby exactly what you just told me inside. Be a brave little hero." People around us slowed down. Heads turned. Phones lowered. Rachel's lips parted, but no sound came out. "Tell her how you plan to leave me after her graduation," I added, still holding the phone out. "Tell her who Blake is. Or should I?" That did it. She snatched the phone from my hand like a wild animal and screamed. A raw, guttural scream. "How dare you make a scene here? No, how dare you pick this day, this moment, to throw your grenade?" I said. Rachel spun toward Abby. "Don't listen to him. He's twisting everything. I never said I'd leave him. Not like that. He's manipulating you. He's always trying to turn you against me." I laughed, bitter. "I didn't write those messages, Rachel." Neither did Abby. That's when her mask finally fell. She dropped the innocent act. Right there, in front of the family, the classmates, the teachers. "You were always boring," she snapped. "Predictable. You gave me security, not excitement. You're a pathetic shell of a man. You should be thanking me for sticking around this long." My daughter gasped. My hands shook, but not from rage. From clarity. I saw her now. Truly. Not the Rachel I married, but this bitter, entitled version she'd evolved into. All grace peeled away. And then I smiled. Because in that moment, I knew something she didn't. I hadn't told her yet that I recorded our entire conversation in the car, including her little graduation day confession. And I hadn't told her yet that Blake wasn't coming tonight. Because Blake was already at the police station. I had sent the messages to a private investigator 3 weeks ago, long before graduation. Call it instinct or just years of feeling something wasn't right. Rachel's sudden work retreats, her locked phone, the weird perfume that wasn't hers. I played dumb, but I watched. Quietly. Closely. Blake was easy to find. He worked part-time at a gym, of course he did, and had a side hustle in something less legal. My guy followed him for 4 days and gathered enough evidence to fill a binder. Drugs. Money laundering. And my wife, tangled right in the middle of it. I handed it all to a cop I knew from back when I did volunteer security work at our church. They took it seriously. Blake had a warrant by Thursday. He was arrested early Saturday morning. I knew Rachel hadn't found out yet. Her phone had been off most of the morning. She had no clue she was screaming at me about humiliating her in public, while her lover was sitting handcuffed in a holding cell with 3 charges against him and a smug look wiped off his face. Abby was crying now. People were trying to comfort her. I turned to shield her, led her to the car, and whispered, "We're going home. This isn't your burden." Rachel tried to follow, yelling something about how I was kidnapping our daughter. I looked back once. "You made today about you. That's on you." She didn't follow. Maybe because she knew deep down that her entire kingdom had just started to collapse. At home, I sat Abby down in the living room and gave her a simple, age-appropriate version of the truth. She was 18. She could handle more than I wanted to admit, but I didn't show her the phone. Not yet. I just told her there were things she didn't deserve to get caught in the middle of. She nodded. She was trembling, but composed. I walked to the garage, shut the door behind me, and screamed into the silence until my throat went raw. I punched the workbench. Once. Twice. I didn't break anything. Just skin. How do you process 20 years of love turning out to be a con? How do you look back on every vacation, every birthday, and not wonder, was that all fake too? I remembered our first apartment. Eating ramen on the floor. Laughing about not having furniture. She used to look at me like I was her whole world. When did that stop? Or was it always conditional? It was around 11 p.m. when Rachel started blowing up my phone. First calls. Then texts. Dozens. I didn't answer. She went from rage to begging, like flipping a light switch. The last message read, "We need to talk. It's not what you think." Of course it was. Next morning, I saw her outside the house. Standing by the door in sunglasses, holding coffee like she was going to work. I opened the door, stepped outside, and closed it behind me. "You didn't even check on Abby," I said. "Your daughter." I figured she needed space," she said, voice low. "She's always taken your side anyway. That's because I'm the only one who didn't lie to her." She huffed, tried to play the victim again. "Look, I made a mistake, okay? People make mistakes. I was feeling neglected. You don't even touch me anymore. We haven't felt like a couple in years. You mean I stopped worshiping you like a queen when you started treating me like a maid?" Her eyes flared. "I gave you everything. This house, our life. You think you could have done this without me?" I stepped closer. "I built this. I worked 3 jobs while you found yourself, those first few years. You decorated. You posed. You faked everything. And now you're mad I didn't let you turn our daughter's graduation into your grand exit?" She stepped back. "I can't do this," she muttered. "You're impossible. Always so dramatic." "You know what's dramatic?" I said calmly. "Cheating on your husband with a man who's now being interrogated about 2 felonies." She froze. "I know," I said. "I know everything. The club. The drugs. The money. And now the cops do too." I watched the blood drain from her face. Her voice cracked. "You didn't. You wouldn't." "I would. I did." She started to cry, not real tears. Crocodile ones. The kind that worked on me 10 years ago. The kind that tricked me into thinking she had a heart. I turned around. "You should go. And lawyer up." She didn't move. Just stood there frozen like a glitch in the Matrix, trying to reboot her next performance. I didn't give her the satisfaction of another glance. I walked back into the house and locked the door behind me. She knocked once, then again, louder, like that would change anything. Then I heard the unmistakable sound of her heel snapping as she stomped away. Fitting. Inside, I went to Abby's room. She was curled up in bed, earbuds in, eyes swollen. I didn't say anything, just sat on the edge of her bed and waited. She pulled one butt out. "Did Mom really cheat?" she asked, her voice a whisper. "Yes," I said. I couldn't lie. Not to her. Not anymore. "Is she gone?" "For now. Maybe for good." Abby blinked hard, then nodded. "Good. That crushed me more than the cheating. That a daughter could say good after her mom walks out. That's not normal. That's years of disappointment I hadn't seen because I was too busy covering for Rachel. Too busy hoping she'd come back to who she used to be. That night, I sat at the kitchen table for hours with the lights off. Just me and a whiskey I didn't even want. I stared at my wedding band. Slid it off. Put it in the drawer. Not angrily. Just done. Like hanging up a jersey you know you're never wearing again. In the following days, Rachel tried everything. She showed up crying, screaming, begging. Once she even brought cupcakes like this was some school dispute we could patch over with dessert. She called my friends, my brother, even my boss. All the same line. "He's being irrational. He's tearing our family apart." I sent a cease and desist through my lawyer. Then came the twist I didn't expect. Rachel filed for custody. Of Abby. Full custody. Claimed I was manipulative and unfit because I exposed her mistakes in a public setting. It was pure madness. Even her own lawyer seemed ashamed to read the paperwork. But she wasn't done. She posted some garbage online, trying to flip the script, making herself the victim. My emotionally distant husband ambushed me at our daughter's graduation. Got a few likes. A few pity comments. But people knew. Our family knew. Her own sister called me crying, apologizing for defending her all those years. And then, just as fast, it all turned. The investigation into Blake got deeper. He rolled on other names. His apartment was raided. Guess whose name was on some of the accounts? Rachel's. She wasn't just cheating. She was laundering his cash through one of the design companies she'd opened for fun. Turns out it wasn't just a hobby. It was cover. She was arrested one rainy Thursday morning. I got the call from the detective while I was making eggs. Your wife's in custody. You were right. I didn't feel vindicated. Just hollow. I looked at Abby, sitting at the table scrolling through her phone, and said, "You hungry?" She nodded. "Starving." We ate in silence. The kind of silence that feels heavy but healing. I realized something then. Everything Rachel had tried to control, our daughter, our story, the narrative, was unraveling in front of her. And I wasn't angry anymore. Just grateful. Grateful I saw the truth before I spent another decade living a lie. I never thought I'd say it, but Rachel walking out might have been the best gift she ever gave me. A gift she didn't mean to give, but one I accepted without a bow. The court date came faster than I expected. Rachel showed up in a beige suit, hair pulled tight, makeup heavy, like she was trying to look like someone who had her life together. But the cracks showed. Her eyes twitched every time someone mentioned Blake's name. Every time a document was presented that had her signature, her involvement, her betrayal printed in black and white. She didn't look at me once. Abby refused to be in the same room. She submitted a written statement through our lawyer. It was 3 pages long, typed. The last sentence still rings in my head. I don't want to live with someone who only pretends to be my mother when it's convenient. Rachel winced when that was read aloud. For once, she didn't interrupt. Maybe she realized there was nothing left to say. The judge granted me full custody without hesitation. Later, outside the courthouse, she finally tried. "Please, just give me one more chance to talk to Abby. Just me and her. No lawyers. You don't get to choose the rules anymore," I said. "You don't get to decide when you're a mother." "I made mistakes," she hissed. "But I'm still her mom." "No, you were. Now you're just someone we used to live with." She lunged forward like she was about to slap me, then caught herself and stumbled back. The security guard stepped between us, and I turned and walked away, not because I was afraid, but because she wasn't worth watching anymore. The weeks that followed were oddly quiet. No more texts. No more begging. Just a silence that felt like ash after a fire. Abby slowly began to laugh again. Not a full laugh, not yet, but moments. She started baking again. I'd come home to the smell of burnt cookies and hear her cursing at the oven, and it would hit me how long it had been since she felt safe enough to be a teenager. One night, I found a note in my drawer. Her handwriting. "Thank you for choosing me instead of pretending everything was okay. You're my real parent." I sat on the edge of my bed and cried. Not because I was broken anymore, but because I'd finally started healing. Rachel? She got sentenced probation, community service, mandatory rehab. No jail time. She still tried to play the misunderstood wife card in interviews, but no one bought it. She posted less and less. Eventually disappeared from socials altogether. I heard Blake flipped entirely. Took a deal. Dragged everyone down with him. But that's someone else's mess now. Not mine. I sold the house. Too many memories. Bought a smaller place near a lake, one with creaky floorboards and a big porch where Abby and I could sit on warm nights and just exist without pretending. One night, she asked, "Do you think she ever loved you?" I thought about it. Thought hard. Then answered truthfully. "I think she loved being loved." And I gave her that. Until it wasn't enough. Abby nodded like she already knew that. "I think she did." It's funny. You spend years thinking the worst thing that can happen is your partner betraying you. But it's not. The worst thing is staying after they do. Letting the rot stay in the walls and pretending the house is still worth living in. I left. I chose truth. I chose dignity. And I'd choose it again. Every single time. A few months passed. The dust had finally settled, but the echoes of what Rachel did still lingered in small, sharp ways. I'd hear a certain ringtone in the grocery store and my stomach would drop, just out of reflex. I'd drive by the restaurant where I once caught her texting Blake from under the table, smiling at me like everything was normal, and feel my hands tighten on the wheel. Trauma doesn't knock before it visits, it just slides in through the back door. But the thing is, I was getting stronger. Not louder. Not angrier. Just firmer in who I was now. Not the man begging for scraps of attention. Not the fool sitting across from a liar, thinking love would fix things. I was different. And I liked who I was becoming. Abby started college in the fall. Stayed local by choice. Said she didn't want to be far. Not yet. We drove to campus together on her first day, and she was quiet the whole ride. Just as we pulled up, she turned to me and said, "Thanks for not using her mistake as an excuse to fall apart." I smiled. Didn't need an excuse. Already fell apart. Just decided to get back up. She hugged me, hard, then ran inside before I could see her tear up. That night, I came home to an empty house and didn't feel lonely. Just peaceful. I poured a drink, walked out to the porch, and sat under the stars in the same chair where Rachel once told me she felt trapped by routine. That routine, the one I built, was what kept us alive. But she wanted chaos. And she got it. The doorbell rang. It was late, almost midnight. I opened the door, and there she was. Rachel. No makeup. What hair? A duffel bag in one hand, and a look I hadn't seen in years. Not anger. Not arrogance. Defeat. "Don't slam the door," she whispered. "Just hear me out." I stepped outside. Closed the door behind me. Didn't say a word. She rubbed her hands together. "I've lost everything. I know I deserve it. I lied. I hurt you. I hurt Abby. I was selfish. And I know I don't get to ask this, but I have nowhere to go. I just want to talk. That's it." I looked at her. Really looked. The same woman who mocked me in front of our daughter. The same woman who risked our home, our family, for a thrill she couldn't even hold on to. Her nails were chipped. Her voice trembled. This wasn't the actress I'd lived with for years. It was just a woman now. A woman who burned everything and stood in the ashes, hoping someone else would hand her a broom. I sighed. "You can sit on the porch, but you're not coming inside." She nodded quickly. "Okay. I get it. That's fair." We sat for a minute in silence. The air was thick. "I miss her," she said suddenly. "Abby, I know I have no right to, but I do." "You miss the version of her that forgave too fast," I said. "The version you could manipulate. That version's gone." She blinked, tears coming. "Is there any part of you that still cares about me?" I leaned back in the chair and stared at the sky. Took my time answering. "There's a part of me that mourns who I thought you were. But no, I don't care about the woman you became. That woman used me. That woman weaponized love. And that woman tried to take my daughter from me to protect her own lie. She didn't argue. Didn't even defend herself. "Can I stay here just for tonight?" she asked. "No," I said, standing. "But I'll pay for a hotel. One night. After that, you figure it out." Just like I had to. I walked inside and closed the door. She didn't knock again. The next morning, there was no sign of her. No texts. No calls. Just an envelope slid under the front door. Inside, a handwritten note in shaky cursive. "Thank you for not slamming the door in my face. I won't come back. I get it now." Finally. There was no name at the bottom. Just empty space, like even she wasn't sure she deserved to sign it. I sat with that note for a long time. Thought about what it meant. Not the apology I'd stopped looking for those months ago. What struck me was the silence that followed. For once, she didn't try to spin it. No last-ditch lie. No twisted version of the story where she was the wounded heroine. Just silence. And maybe, in some weird, broken way, that was the closest thing to honesty she'd ever given me. A few weeks later, her lawyer sent over paperwork. She wasn't fighting anything anymore. No claims for property. No custody battles. Nothing. Just signatures, clean and final. I signed everything that day. It felt like severing an infected limb. Painful, yes, but necessary to survive. After the divorce was finalized, I took Abby out for dinner. Nothing fancy. Just a local diner we used to go to when she was little. She ordered the same milkshake she used to, but this time, she didn't use both straws. She pushed it across the table and said, "All yours, Dad. You earned it." We laughed. Really laughed. That belly-deep kind that doesn't hide pain but comes out stronger because of it. It had been too long since either of us sounded like that. Later that night, I walked into the garage, something I'd avoided since the blow-up. It still smelled faintly of motor oil and old regrets. I opened the dusty storage box in the corner and found our wedding album. The one Rachel had made herself, with gold foil lettering and that fake little pressed flower on the front. I flipped through the pages, watching the timeline of lies pretending to be memories. One photo stopped me. The beach trip. Year 8 of our marriage. She was kissing my cheek while I lit the grill. At the time, I thought it was genuine. But now I remembered the fight we had right before. How she disappeared for an hour and came back with excuses about getting ice. The kiss wasn't affection. It was camouflage. I closed the album and threw it into the trash can, then lit a match. I didn't watch it burn. I walked away. Weeks passed, then months. Life didn't return to normal. It built something new. I met someone at the hardware store. Nothing romantic. Not yet. Just kind conversation. A slow start. The way life should begin again. Unforced, honest, clean. Abby started painting. Her canvases were bold and angry at first, all reds and blacks, like she was bleeding out what she'd buried for years. Then blues. Then warm colors. Her last one was a sunrise. She called it after the storm. I didn't ask if it was about us. I didn't need to. Some nights, I'd sit on the porch and think about how easily people trade real love for cheap thrills. How someone could live beside you for years while planning their exit. But most nights, I just sat in the quiet. The kind of quiet you earn. The kind of quiet no liar can take from you. It was a Saturday morning when the letter came. Not a text. Not an email. An actual envelope, handwritten, with Rachel's name in the return corner. I almost threw it out without opening it. My first instinct was that it'd be another manipulation disguised as regret. But curiosity is a strange thing. It whispers even after you've buried the past. Inside was a letter 6 pages long. No perfume. No lipstick print. Just ink, shaky in some places, smudged in others. She wrote about therapy. About hitting bottom. About the people she hurt and the mirror she finally had to face. She said she never expected forgiveness. Only hoped one day Abby might speak to her again. And then one line caught me. You treated me better than I ever deserved, and I was too hollow inside to see the difference between love and control. You gave me safety, I punished you for it. I folded the letter, slid it back into the envelope, and tucked it in the back of my desk drawer. I didn't know why I kept it. Maybe as a reminder. Not of her, but of me. The version of me that survived it. That afternoon, I drove to the lake. Same spot where Abby and I had watched the fireworks in July. The water was calm, barely a ripple. I sat on the bench overlooking the dock and just breathed. For the first time in over 2 years, I didn't feel like I was rebuilding. I felt built. Rachel was gone, truly gone this time, not just physically, but as a weight. Her absence no longer hurt. It simply existed, like an empty chair at a table that no longer needed setting. Abby had stopped asking about her. I never told her not to, I just didn't encourage the memories. When she was ready, I'd let her decide how much of her mother to let back in, if any. A few weeks later, I got a call from a mutual friend. Rachel had moved out of state. Started over somewhere else. Clean life, small apartment, job at a local bakery. She was, according to the friend, finally learning what it means to live without pretending. Good. Let her learn. Let her feel the cost of everything she burned for a man who didn't last a season. One evening, as I was locking up the house, Abby came to me holding an old photo album, the kind I thought I'd thrown away. Should we keep any of these? She asked. I flipped through. Smiles. Vacations. The staged kind of happiness. I paused on one of Abby in my arms, barely 5 years old, messy ice cream all over her face. Rachel was in the corner, half cut off, looking away. I pulled the photo out, tore the edge where Rachel's shoulders showed, and handed it back. This one stays. Abby smirked. Brutal. Just honest, I said. And that was the thing. That was the gift, if you could call it that. Rachel had taught me the value of truth, not the pretty kind, not the gentle kind, but the kind you fight for. The kind that stays when the lies fall away. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm aware. And I live like a man who refuses to be blind again.